of the things in my group chat, I'm just, your birthday number isn't a memorable number.
Embrace Your Frizzique's always been about creating a space where people can feel seen, they feel safe, they feel like, oh wow, like there's actually information, there's products, there's like stuff here that I can actually use that work. So I would be like, trust yourself, and also just like trust like God's plan, trust the vision, like everything is going to work out on your time.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Bittersweet Podcast. It's your girl, Wintana, and we have a special guest on the pod today. This guest actually was supposed to be, we actually did an episode a year ago, was it?
I think it was 2.
Was it 2 years ago?
I think it was 2 years ago.
Okay, I'll give them a backstory after I introduce you. But this week we have Zarah Garbrah, who is the founder and director of Embrace Your Frizzique, a movement dedicated to empowering and educating people on the diversity of hair and culture. Zarah's also a hairstylist, and she's also a marketing girly. Yeah. How are you, sis?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm so glad we made it happen because I feel like last year we were just always talking about we need to bring you on, we need to bring you on. But backstory, guys, she was here 2 years ago. It was either like a year and a half, 2 years ago.
I know it was 2 because my hair was so short and I had only hairstyle I could do was 2 buns or up, and it was probably like this big.
That's crazy the way time flies. You're right. And so Bittersweet I was gonna have like a separate podcast like outside of Bittersweet. It was just this whole thing, like an era that I was going through. And I don't know, things work in God's timing. I feel like the fact that now we're here and we're doing it again and it feels right. I think that time it felt a bit like rushed for me, and I don't know how you were feeling.
Yeah, I feel like I think it was like at the beginning of like the product journey. Yeah. Or like, I don't know, I can't even remember the time, but it was definitely at the beginning of somewhere. So I feel like I was like very scatterbrained.
Okay, same.
Yeah, but I feel like this was right time.
This feels good.
Yeah,
this feels right. We were even supposed to do it before Ethiopia, but then before I went on a trip, and then we were like, let's just wait. Let's just wait.
And now we're here.
And there's so much happening. I just want to say there's a lot to go into, but first of all, big congratulations on the launch of your product.
Thank you.
Girl, this is huge.
Yeah, it's crazy.
For people that don't know about your Embrace Your Frizzique, we're going to go through all of it today, but Zarah launched her own science-backed product, which I think is insane.
Thank you. Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like I'm like still taking in taking it all in. Yeah. It was definitely a journey and like crazy because like the beginning of it, I thought, I'm like, oh yeah, year and a half, like light work. 3 years later, I'm like, yeah, wow. Yeah, it took a lot, but I'm like very grateful for the community, grateful for the funders, grateful for like the backers, like everyone that was a part of that journey. I feel like it was just like, it had to be 3 years because it was so much.
I was going to say, to be honest, when I think about something like that, I don't think a year and a half. I think like, girl, you're about to go on a journey.
Sometimes I'm like very like, I think it's, I don't know, my brain works. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that.
Optimistic. I'm like that too. Optimistic. I have like 10 different things to do. I'm like, I can get that done by the end of the day.
100%. I'm like, oh, to-do list. Like, I'll write down everything. Yeah, nah, today is fine. And I'm like,
you need a break in between. You need to breathe. Yeah, it's a lot. But I just think it's such a huge achievement that you released that. So I can't wait to get into all of it. Before we get into the podcast episode or just the interview, we do a little icy break. Icy break. We do a little icebreaker. I think I was trying to say icy breaky.
Icy breaky.
We do a little icy breaky. So this one is called What's Worse? Okay. And I'm going to give you a bunch of scenarios and you just tell me like one or the other, which one's worse.
Okay, cool.
First one, your group chat leaking versus getting ghosted. What's worse?
Ooh, group chat leaking.
Yeah.
I'm like, ghosted, bye.
Bro, some of the things in my group chat, I'm just...
I'm like, guys,
this is so unhinged.
To, like, encrypt, like, lock it. Nah, it's not that bad, but like, you know, still.
Mine can be bad. Like, not the group, but at least the phone calls. Yeah. The phone calls, it's like, who are you? You know?
Actually, phone calls.
I'm scared of myself sometimes when I get off that call.
Same.
But it's so funny. I love it.
Yeah, there's so much tea. I'm like, what? Okay, that's a good question.
So group chat.
Yeah, group chat. 100%,
okay.
100%.
Losing your phone for a week or having to use a flip phone for a year?
Losing your phone for a week or flip phone for a year. Losing my phone for a week.
Yeah. A flip
phone
for a year,
like all that.
I mean, it'd be very like zen that year.
To be honest, and like my phone is like not working properly right now, but the break from like photos and selfie and just like using a phone like so much,
and socials, the amount of I'm actually addicted to social media, and it's not even it's just I'm just tapping into check.
Yeah, I'm like,
sometimes I'll get off, and I'm just,
and
what are you doing?
I know, I'm like, nothing is happening.
This is what are you doing?
I know.
Okay, bad. Accidentally sending a screenshot to a person you screenshotted.
I've done that.
Same. Or accidentally liking a photo from 2015. On someone's Instagram.
Liking them from 2015 is crazy work.
That's crazy work.
No, why are you that deep?
No, do you know what's so crazy? I was actually on the phone to my girl the other day, and we were just talking about someone, and as we're talking about them, we're just scrolling. You know those people that keep their photos from high school? Mm-hmm. I was just scrolling. We're just sending, this one. I'm like, imagine I liked one of these photos. It's so deep in.
At the same time, though, if it's there, then maybe it's there to be engaged with. So technically, it's not that bad.
It depends
it's worse
who,
if you
though.
don't know that person.
No, it's worse. I think it's worse if I know you. If I don't know you, I don't care about what you think of me. But if I sent it, if I liked it, and you're kind of like someone that I'm not close to, but I know, I would die inside.
I'm
like, why are you on my photo?
Why do you like my photo?
What's going on? What are you looking? What are you doing? But I've done the screenshot and send.
Yeah, I've done that. And then but you know the best thing to do in those movies, just own it. Be like, sorry, I was sending it to my friend and you were there. And
one time I did it, it was of my friend, and I was explaining something to my other friend. But and then she was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Girl, it was just this thing." But a friend of mine went on a date with someone and sent me. She's like, I said, "Let me see what he looks like." She sends me a screenshot of this man. She was to send a screenshot of him, and I'm like, "Have you sent it yet?" She's like, "Yeah, I sent it a while ago. We're on the phone." And she's like, "Oh my God, I sent it to him." And I just told her, tell him, "Oh my God, I love the way you look here."
I love this photo of you, to be honest.
And man, he's like, "Oh, thank you. Thank you so much." It's just dumb.
That's funny.
Okay, having your search history exposed or accidentally sending a risky text message to the wrong person.
What's risky? What are you saying?
Maybe flirting. Let's say you were flirting with someone and you sent it to the wrong person.
I don't know. Maybe risky text.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You prefer that?
Wait, ask me the question.
So would you rather have your search history exposed or accidentally send a risky text message to the wrong person?
I feel like they're equally as bad.
I feel like my search history isn't crazy.
Neither. That's why I'm like, probably a text message.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It's worse. Yeah. It's worse. Yeah.
I'm like, what I'm saying, but then nah. I'd say text message.
Yeah, I get you. I'm the same.
I hope I answered that right.
No, I did this last time. Okay. I confused myself. It's what's worse, and I keep thinking that you're gonna pick the risky text.
Yeah.
Okay, forgetting someone's birthday versus wishing someone a happy birthday on the wrong day.
Or happy birthday wrong day.
Yeah.
That's
is
sad.
worse.
That's
Really.
It's happened to me with some of my friends. I'm like, guys, really? It's day early.
Oh my God.
But then forget.
I feel like if I forget your birthday. Yeah. Wait, what's worse?
What's worse? Forgetting your birthday. Because at least you tried.
Yeah. You're just a bit slow, and that's okay. You know what I mean? I've done that. Yeah.
So bad.
It's so bad. It's sad when you completely forget.
I know. That's what you gotta write in the. But you know what? It used to be easy when everyone was on Facebook. Because then you would see
everyone's birthday.
I know. Now I feel like sometimes it comes up. If I check it, I'm like, let me check. Sometimes random. I'm like, let me check.
Do you have close friends that you forget? Birthdays, and you're just like, I have to.
But sometimes I'm prompted by Instagram, if they post it.
Yeah.
Not close friends, my closest group. Yep. But friends or people that I'm you see out and about. I'm like, if they post it, or someone shares happy birthday, I'm like, oh, thank God.
Do you know what I get what you're saying. Let me go quickly say happy birthday. I've done that with close friends too. I feel like I have a forgetful mind.
Yeah.
And there's certain numbers that I confuse. So I'm like, are you 19 or 17?
Yeah.
You know,
I feel that
one is confusing to me.
Yeah, I feel that. Okay.
So there's people where you're just like, your birthday number isn't a memorable number. Do you get it?
Some numbers are more important than
some numbers make they just click.
Yeah.
I really know. Okay.
29.
What is that?
That's
what is 29?
Sorry, if you're on the 29, I'm so sorry. But
even 27 is even a rough one.
Yeah. It's No, I feel you. I feel like the singular numbers are probably
the
maybe
easier
that's what
ones.
it is.
Yeah. I love all my friends so much, and they know that. Love you guys down. All right. let's get into
Oh my gosh. Okay.
into the episode. So yeah, we spoke about, obviously you're the founder of Embrace Your Frizzique.
Yeah.
I want people to know a little bit about you, like your upbringing. You grew up in Melbourne.
Yep.
Where you're from, all of those things.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah, born and raised in Melbourne.
Yep.
Half Italian, half Ghanaian.
Yep.
I feel like for me, growing up in Australia, I feel like it's the very common story. Like, grew up very like white suburbs, white neighborhoods. And I think for me, I think the search for like, I guess my like identity journey was like always evolving. But I think it was really around that like pivotal moment. I think it was towards the end of high school where I was like, who am I? What am I doing? Where do I belong? All of that, like kind of the search for like who I am.
Yeah.
And I think it
End of high
just,
school.
End of high school.
Girl, I feel the same. I had that as well.
But I think it was really year 10. I think year 10 is when I was just like, oh, hold on. Like everything before and everything that I'm becoming, it feels like it's all merging and changing. And so at that point, I remember I just started to notice so much more about like my culture. I started to question my identity in regards to like blackness. I started to notice curly and afro hair around me too. And I was like, at that point in time, my hair was, I was like semi-relaxed, like in a kind of in-between state. And I was like, what am I doing? And why am I doing this?
Okay.
Yeah, it was just like this questionable moment. I remember one of my best friends in year 10, I remember she like saw this all happening like in real life. It was
what
crazy.
made you, what was it? Was there like anything that influenced that thought?
Yeah, there was.
What was
you know
it?
what? It's actually funny. So for like a couple years, I was doing like pageants.
Yeah.
Like there was like Miss Africa. It was like local ones in like the community and stuff. And I think doing that, I was around obviously black people like more. And I just started to notice curly afro hair. So I think in that moment I was like, wow, I feel seen. I'm in a community where there's people like me. I'm doing these competitions, like they were like super random. But like doing these competitions where like I started to notice more people and I'm like, oh my God, why is my hair like this?
Yeah.
So I think that was
How was doing pageants?
Oh
what
my
was
God.
that like?
Let's not talk about that.
Really? I can't imagine you doing pageants at all, Zarah.
It was just like more, they weren't even like pageants. They were more like fashion. Or like some of them were pageant, but there was also like fashion-y, like stuff that like just random people put on. But some of them were good. Like some of like friends that I've made and connection I made, like we talk about it and we laugh about it. We're like, oh my God, did we really do that? What the hell? But it was just a nice way to like just do something different. I think at that age too, like I grew up very active. Like I was always doing like different like sports, like hobbies, like so random. Like my mom would just throw us into everything. And I think when this came up, it was just like, yeah, let's just try, let's see what happens.
Yeah, I love
so
that.
Just like go with the flow.
Yeah.
It was super random.
And then so from there, you know what's so crazy? I feel like people don't realize that when a black girl sees an older black girl, I feel like a lot of times, especially like in school, at your developmental stages, I think you're so cool.
Yeah,
like especially I love like black women in that way. And I remember like it was like I started to see more representation. It was either through TV, I think and like community and stuff, but more just seeing us in different spaces. I was like, I actually want to be more like. And the reason I'm saying this is because I also grew up in a really white area. And when you're around like a lot of white people, you're just kind of like, okay, there's always reason to hate on your hair, hate on your looks, hate on this, because you feel like you have to assimilate. You're so different to the people around you. I just needed exposure.
100%.
I needed exposure. Outside of the aunties,
No,
I needed to see women that like, you know, I aspired to be or like look up to be like, oh, I actually do love myself.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
I remember like, and there's like probably like 3 women that like I remember seeing, and like at that age when I was like year 10, like 14, 15. And I remember being like, you're so cool.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember like being young, and you don't know, sometimes you don't know what the feeling is. You're like in kind of awe, like, oh, like, oh my God, that person's really cool. Like either hair, style, fashion. Like there's some of like my friends today that probably don't even know. I remember like they were also in those spaces too, like a lot of like the Ghanaian community. I remember being like, whoa, bro, like she's so lit. Like what, how can I be like that?
I had a cousin like that who was she's a cool girl. She'd come in with her thin, long braids. Can you imagine? And she'd always be the one that was kind of like not really in the family. So she'd just come and go. And I'm like, she's so cool.
So cool. But definitely, I agree with you on exposure. I think it's just like seeing people that look like you in different environments, like outside of like your suburb or like where you've grown up as well. And I think, for me, that was where like everything started to like kind of click into place. Like, oh, okay, I think there's something bigger here.
And you were a Northside girl, yeah?
Yeah, Northside girl.
Yeah. So there was barely any of that.
Yeah, not many. No. I feel like maybe like further out, but I was like, in a north. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was not much happening.
So in terms of like you now like stepping into kind of looking like, I guess, like taking care of your hair? You just got into that journey, trial and error. What was that like?
Yeah, well, I think the very beginning of it was, okay, so I remember, I wanted to grow out my hair and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like literally no clue. My mum was just like, do whatever you want to do. And I was like, okay, bet. And I started this journey and I was just like, started first with like all your basics, like Pantene and Tresemme, and just kind of like using stuff that I thought was right. But the moment my brain changed was when I was like I remember like I think I had shampoo, conditioner, and I was adding oils to it. It was like my thing that I would do. Like I would add like olive oil to like basic conditioner.
Really? Okay.
And I was like, this made it like feel better, like for my hair.
Yeah.
And then I remember going onto Google and like typing in like how to make like conditioner. Brother, the way my brain changed when I saw the formulas and like not the formula, my brain changed when I saw the like amount of Black women in America that were doing the same thing, like the natural hair movement. And I was like, oh my God, there's other people going through the same thing as me.
So you didn't know about this at all?
I didn't know about it. I remember jumping on and then I saw like, and then like, if you know, like the OGs like that were creating like conditioners, gels, like there was like the flaxseed gels, like aloe vera gel, like
I remember the natural movement, like when it started. Yeah.
And I remember that's when like I was like, oh wow, like I could like, you know, find other like inspo or other recipes, and I started to make things myself. But that was pretty much like the beginning of what would like eventually lead me to Embrace Your Frizzique, because like I started to make my own products with just like random things that I would buy from the shop. I'd go to like the health food shop, I'd grab like different things, and I just had so much fun creating. Like I would just buy things and just put them together in the hopes that it would work. And eventually like I was like, oh, I started to notice
results. You found something that was,
and then I just wanted to share it with people. I just was like, I found like, it was like literally like, I have a tip. Oh, let me tell you about the tip. I have this. Oh my God, let me tell you about this thing.
I love this.
That was literally like what I wanted to do.
And like you can see the passion. I think just even that process in itself, you telling me about that, I can 100% see that you're passionate about what you're doing. Because when I tell you the hair care process, I'm in it now. I'm trying to like look after my natural hair now. I've made like a commitment to myself this year where I'm like, let's at least do like the once a month, like let's start small and do the once a month treatment, and then the deep condition, the like moisturizing it once a week at least. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to commit to something. It's hard to find something that works for you. Yeah. And then like also to be able to style it and still look like good and feel good about your hair as well, just because of 100%. You know what I mean? I guess.
And there's a lot of noise as well. Like I think that's like when I speak to my clients or when I'm like talking to my clients, like the thing that I'm like I constantly find in like a lot of like the consultation process is that there's so much noise online. Do this, don't use this product, don't use this product. But
this is good for you now. You should use so like
and this. And then like there's people who are like, you know, making products or whatever, and like, you know, there's science-backed products. There's like all the stores you can buy from. So it's very complicated, or not complicated, but it's very noisy.
And it's expensive. You know, I think the trial and error process can be really expensive, especially if you don't know what to use. Like some people are saying, do this, you grab oils from here, you get this, you do this treatment. And then I'm just like, I don't even feel like I have enough time to like test out what works for me in between. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it can feel like a guinea pig process. Yeah. Like you just feel like you're constantly testing. Yeah, which is why I encourage people to always like go back to like the basics of hair and like your scalp health. Like I feel like if we go back to what does your hair actually require? Like from like just like the beginning point, like, okay, so we know it's like shampoo and it's a conditioner, maybe a deep conditioner. Like let's start with like getting our wash routine right. Yeah. Once we get that right, and then like, then we can move on to like styling. Okay, then what do we need for like a good, like if you want to do a wash and define, or you want to do a braid out or twist out, what are like your staple products? Like without all the extra stuff. Because there's so many like things now, like you go on TikTok or Instagram, get this thing or this tool or accessory or scalp massager. Like there's so many extra things, but I'm like, let's just breathe and let's go back to the basics. Gosh. Yeah, and that can be really like also just like really validating too when you don't know like where you like me. I'm a very like scatterbrained sometimes. Yes. So I'm like, okay, what do I actually require? Let me just do that.
I remember we had an event at the studio, and I think it was the one we were talking about, and then you had someone asked that question. I think it was you or someone was like, okay, this is, if you can just have like once a month do this and then do this, that for me just eased my, like, it can be anxiety around it, because I'm like, this is a lot. Let me just put a wig on.
No, honestly, it's like, let me just do the easiest thing, sling it back, put it away and not deal with it. But also, I always like also tell people about like the long-term like detrimental effects that you can have with your hair. Like people don't think about it now because it's fine, but like traction alopecia and things that you deal with like hair loss later down the line that can affect us, women and men, at like a rapid rate where you're fine one day and the next morning you're like, why do I feel like my edges are less? So it's also like, how can we like preserve our hair so we can like prevent things like that happening later down the line? So Yeah.
It's important to know, especially in the Black community. I feel like we're always doing stuff with our hair as well.
Yeah.
But so you're going on, you're testing all these products.
Yeah.
I remember you from the YouTube days where you were making your videos and it was
guys,
like,
welcome
yeah,
back to my
I loved it.
Hi guys.
But you were really in there making products.
Yeah.
Did you sell those products?
I sold, so I would gift up little things like flaxseed gel, aloe vera gel to like my friends and stuff. But I started, my first product was a frizz souffle, if you know, you know, and that was in 17, 18.
Okay.
And that was like a whipped like shape. It was a whipped hair and body butter. It was like shea butter, cocoa butter, rose, and aloe vera, other bunch of stuff in it. But yeah, I was selling that. That was the first product that I sold.
Okay.
Yeah, which was like very DIY-esque.
Very much.
Yeah.
You were in the kitchen,
was
babe.
like everything covered in rosemary. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I remember my mum being like, if you buy one more thing, and I was like, wait, let me just test this out. Please let me test one more product out. I promise you it's going to be good. But everyone, like, I remember selling it at the time and it was really popular. But I think it was also like, if you went onto YouTube at that time, it was like a lot of like whipped shea butters and all of that. So yeah, that was the first product though, the frizz souffle.
So how long did that last? Like you making it? Because you kind of took a break, right? A little bit of a break.
Yeah.
More you were on socials, I feel like still building your brand, but like from making the products,
So
transitioning into what Embrace is now.
Yeah, so I think it was like, it's always been very much like this. Like it was always like do something. And then also me, I think I look back now, I'm like, oh, it's also like how I work now. Like I'm very much like have an idea, execute it. Have another idea, execute it. So it was a very much like this in the process.
Yeah.
But like for me, I as much as I'm sporadic and like creative and love to do different things, I also always have a long-term plan. And whether I acknowledge that at the time or not, I was like always trying to aim for something. And now it makes sense, all the things, all the different kind of buckets and pools I was in. But I remember the product, like the frizz souffle, that was only for about 1 or 2 years. But in my head, I was like, I want to create this cool product because I want obviously people to have it, but also to test the market, see how people respond, see if people want hair products, see if people like it. Because then shortly after that, I went to America and then I was also like finishing like my degree or like wrapping that up as well. But at the same time, I went to hair school.
Okay.
So it was like all these different things. So I was like doing one thing, but I was like, okay, that's going to lead me to here. And then once I
all
did
the
hair
steps
school,
were
everything was kind of getting to the bigger picture. But even hair school, that led me to Sydney. And so that was the break that I took. But yeah, it was all kind of just like, I feel like now it's come back full circle. I'm like,
Did you always, so for you, it was always eventually I'm going to have a product.
Yeah.
Not I'm going, because you became a stylist, you moved to Sydney.
Yeah.
So all of this was just building your experience for you?
Yeah. Well, I think I knew I wanted to have a product line one day, whether that was going to be in 2025 or whether that's going to be in 2040. Like I knew that one day I'm like, I want to give people something that they can have it in their own homes, and whatever that happens. But I think going through COVID, going through lockdown, people not being able to like get into salons, I was like, oh, if this ever happens again, what resources are people left with? Like, do people have good products? Do people have the education to be able to like do their own hair in a healthy, safe environment? So for me, I was like, the timing made sense because everything shut down, and I was like, now I've got the time to actually formulate and work on it. I think this is the time to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the products. You transitioned from doing, I guess, your home products to like becoming a stylist and doing everything to now launching a science-backed product, which again, huge. So it's called the Hydra Curl Styler. I mean, I guess we kind of spoke about how you wanted to, like, it was always the goal. Yeah. But what was because I was going to ask you, like, what made you want to actually create a science-based product? Yeah. But really, I think my question is, like, what was that whole process like? Because I'm thinking lab. I'm thinking, like, really you're in it.
In it, yeah. 100%.
Are you? What's it like?
Oh, wow. Well, it was a big, long journey.
Yeah.
The process in itself, like, honestly, like, I was learning as I was going. Like, there was so many things that I had no idea would be on the journey that I was like, oh, I guess I'm in here. Like, I did feel like I was like a manufacturer. I felt like I was the chemist. I felt like I was the developer. I felt like I was the like so many hats you wear. And like technically you do, because you're like, especially if you don't have a big team, you're technically having to manage so many different pockets. But the journey was like, I think for me, it was taking all the insights and knowledge and information that I had developed from the first product, or like even just like all the testing that I was doing from like when I was younger at home, just like ingredients that I liked and the smells of things and things that I actually saw that worked in clients' hair, like even in salon, like using different products and being able to see the results of that, like taking all that knowledge and bringing that back home and being like, cool, what do I want to what do I want the product to do? What do I want the product to feel like, smell like? How does the product evolve from like shower to like day 1, day 2, day 7?
So you're thinking about, you have to think of everything in so much detail.
Yeah.
Do you know this at the beginning, or is this stuff you're like, okay, I have to think about this now as you're going, like you're building and realizing that there's so many more components to this whole thing?
I think like,
and do you have anyone that's like with you,
yeah.
like guiding you?
Like, is it by yourself?
Yeah.
No, I think for me it was like there was bits of like the process that like I knew would happen, like, okay, talking to manufacturers and like testing out different formulas. But yeah, a lot of the stuff you really have to, because I was like, oh, it's going to go like this way. Like it's going to be like, what, step 1, one step done, step 2, but it's more like step 1, jump to step 4. Hang on, we have to start again. Okay, step 1, 5, 3, like it's like literally like you have to move in so many different ways. And I think for me it was like, you just have to stay agile. Like you have to be flexible and you have to be like, this is not it. You might think this formula is going to be the best and it's going to be perfect. And then they take it to testing and it's like, there's no stability in this product. It doesn't last. It's going to mold. It's going, and you're like, oh, well, I loved it. Like, no, you can't do it. Start again. Well, okay. That's another few months. Yeah. It's a big process.
Girl. Yeah. So what I'm trying to understand is how are you as someone who is not like, and I'm going back to level 1. You need to come to me as someone who has no idea what's going on. Okay. How do you yourself develop? How are you developing the product, or how are you like, let's say you have ideas of, I know what I want it to smell like, to look like, to feel like, but you're not a scientist. And you're going into the lab. Obviously, these people are now like are they taking the information you're giving them and then creating something and letting you know where the gaps are, like and then giving it back to you and saying you need to fix this, then how do you know what to change?
That's such a really good question. So for me, it was like I had a pretty good idea of like what ingredients I wanted in it. Obviously, like the sciencey stuff, I'm no scientist. So I was like, I don't know how it's going to like stabilize. I don't know how long the shelf life is, like all that stuff. I have no idea.
Okay.
So I know that this is the formula. Not in terms of formula, I mean like these are the ingredients that I want, because I know that this does this. It has a vitamin A, blah, blah, blah. Like all the properties that I like and that I see that my like clients like as well. So I start with like the basic and then you work with the formulators and like your chemists to be like, now with this information, you take it and use your sciencey brain and like bring all the stuff into it that makes it an actual formula.
Yeah.
But depending on who you work with, they won't necessarily be like, this is good or this is bad. Like they'll just tell you that this product is a product that you're able to sell. But in terms of like the effectiveness and like the performance of the product, that's technically up to you to decide. Okay. So that's when like I'll take that formula and I'll test it, or I'll share it with a friend or like whoever you want to give it to. And then I take that feedback and then I pass it back. And then I'm like, okay, maybe the fragrance is way too strong. Like we need to turn it down to like maybe like 50%, cut it back 50%. And they're like, okay, cool, cut it back, here you go. Okay. So it's a very much like you take it, but you even test it and process can take, I think that took the longest time because in Australia, like it's also like the curly and afro hair, like chemist manufacturing industry here is very limited. Like in terms of like the resources, education that people have, very limited. Whereas like maybe if you're testing, I'm not sure, but if you're testing maybe in the US, like the market of the amount of curly hair products that have already been established, there's a way more data and there's like a lot more information. So yeah, you're also working with people who don't really have as much information, knowledge and expertise in the industry. So it's also like, I think I was a very important part in that process to be able to test it on my hair, share it with my friends and be like, does this product work among us? Yeah. Like, does this work in your hair? Like all different types of curl types. And I think that is where like you really have to like step in and be like, okay, I have to make sure that I share it with as many people with as many different hair types, because obviously at the end of the day, these are the people that are hopefully going to be purchasing it. Yeah. So.
Okay, all right. So
it's a very like collaborative process.
Okay, between the thing. Okay, cool. Because I'm just always, I was wondering like what that looks like. And are you in at all? Like, sorry, dumb question for me. I just want to know. Are you in the lab?
No, like my team went in Melbourne. So like technically I could have, but like I feel like it's also like, I don't know about you, but I feel like I see some videos on like TikTok where it's like a bit glamorized. Like you see like people that go in, like they did labs are hectic and they're hot. Yeah. So it's like and they also don't let a lot of people in because competitors, like there's a lot of brands in there that like brands that we use on a daily. So like you can't really go in unless like you have like a pass or you can like, you only have your product there because there's a lot of like confidentiality. There's also like products are using this from this product or this brand's using this, or there's a lot of like other stuff that happens. So they just kind of keep it on the low. Not on the low, because
but it's just like strict. They're very like they've got like
procedures.
Yeah. Which makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I was so curious. I'm like, is she in there with them?
I'm like, that would have been fun though. But maybe the next one.
Yeah, that's exciting. Okay. I don't know. We didn't mention this earlier in the episode, but you're in your 20s. You're also in your 20s. And I think as a founder, you're in your 20s. You are doing, you have like we were talking about this off camera, but having a team, I feel like before, I guess like you've got some people that you call to now, but like really you've been building this all by yourself from the ground up, which is huge. Yeah. And then on top of that, it's like you're a Black woman living in Australia. You know what I mean? I don't think people, if you're listening to this and you're not in Australia, you don't understand the added layer. Yeah. It's literally a layer of just challenge. It's a challenge. You know what I mean? That it is to exist, to just exist, but also to like build a business where, you know, you're like, I guess like the challenges would be like the funding, the networking, the market size, the knowledge of actually like, building a business and a brand in this country. Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to ask you like I know there's so many components to this, but like what has been that experience for you?
No, definitely. I definitely agree. It definitely adds a layer. And I think it's easy to, especially when you're in rooms, like you're like trying to get funding or find investors, it's easy to forget that layer exists. Like not necessarily forget, but like it moves so fast that you're like for me, like from years back, like funding and investing felt like such a scary and complicated like world where I'm like, how do you even navigate that? And I think for me, I don't come from like a financial rich, like financial literacy isn't very rich for me. So I'm like, I have to make sure that I like keep up to date. I'm learning about it. I'm like understanding what's happening, like just even basic like finance stuff, you know? So I think it was very daunting to enter rooms where you're like, I have an idea that doesn't necessarily like exist to the extent that I want it to exist. Yeah. That is specific for people with curly and afro hair, which is like my target market is obviously Black people. So you're pitching this idea to business people, finance people who are like they're hearing ideas from like tech and like all these things that are like they can see come to life or exist at like billion dollar industries. But here the market size, like you said, is completely different. So sometimes through that process, it did feel like I was speaking to like people who were just like, and I mean, it happened. Like people were like, I don't think that like is a good idea. Or like,
really? This is why you're the pitching process and things like
people
that.
People like, I don't think the market size is big enough. I'm like, I'll show you. Please come to a day in the salon. Or like they just think like the idea is not big enough, which is like I mean, it speaks volumes on who they're interacting with and who like what. Because
sometimes it's the eyes. Like I realized that the funders or the people who kind of on that side are not even coming across like the diversity in Australia, you know what I mean? Like they just don't know. Yeah. And sometimes it is like people bringing it to them and all of that. But how was even just like funding process? Because you did crowdfunding. You did,
I think like that was so scary. Like that whole process of like, how am I going? Like it's one thing to have an idea, but then to bring it to life, it's like, you need money. Like all of this requires money. So for me, in the initial stages, like I was like researching, there was like angel investors and like sponsorships and grants and stuff like that. But when it comes to a product, it's a little bit different because you're not like technically like, I mean, it's like a beauty cosmetic product. So funding is a little bit different. So for me, it only made sense to fall back on community. Like since 2015, the idea has to be like to build Embrace Your Frizzique's audience. That didn't make sense. Since 2015, we've been building Embrace Your Frizzique's audience and like communities. So the crowdfunding, when I heard about crowdfunding, I was like, oh, this might be like the best thing to do. Like, let me just ask the community if they will back the idea. Yeah. And so it was a scary process because I had to be like, okay, like shame, like pride. You have to
all of that has to go. Yeah.
And you just have to ask for what you need. And I did that. And like, honestly, like I still to this day feels like the gratitude and gratefulness like is like a hovering feeling in my body.
I love
like,
that.
I can't believe people were just like, yeah, here you go. And especially when it's a vision, like there's no prototype, there's nothing. It's just like, I want to create this product that's science-backed and it does this. Can you help me? And they're like, yeah, sure. I'm like, really?
I love that. It speaks volumes to also what you're creating and like, and it's a need that you're fulfilling as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But also community really do support.
Oh,
they really,
100%. And like, it's so true, but closed mouths don't get fed.
Girl, I know.
And you have to ask. Like you have to ask. And to me, like one of my friends.
So true.
Yeah, one of my friends said to me, she's like, never be ashamed of like putting yourself out there. Never be ashamed of backing yourself. And like that, I remember her saying that to me, and it just stuck in my head. So every time I'm like, I need to ask for something, I'm like, don't be ashamed, just ask for it. Because if not, like you might not get it. And if you do, like, what's the worst that could happen?
People say
people
no,
say
or
no.
this
Like,
or that. You put yourself out there, and we get scared of being perceived a certain type of way also, but like it's just not in your control as well. Like, as in it can be, but also if you're trying to grow or do things that elevate yourself, you need to be able to put yourself out there.
And I think there's also a thing there as well, because like growing up, you see your peers, like non-black people, white people, other ethnicities, but people asking, and I'm like, is it a shame thing? Like, why am I not asking for even like a pay rise? Why am I not asking for this or this, but my peers are? Like,
do you know what it is?
Like, acknowledge that too.
We don't have enough exposure or knowledge to things. And I think that like, and the toxic thing about our community or like even just being African, sometimes its reputation is huge. Not like people not seeing you down or a certain type of way is a big thing as well. Like, you want to be perceived a certain type of way, and maybe that's because it comes from like traumas or what we haven't had in a long time, like for years. But I feel like it's this whole like flexing, stunting, making sure you're always good, making sure that like you're doing the thing, instead of being open about like what you're actually going through and working with people that are like not even non-people, like white people, I would say, even sometimes better non-black people. I see how like they move. It's not even humility. It's like, it's a matter of fact, how am I going to have this kind of money if I don't do this? I need to go out and do this. And their approach to things, there's just no shame in what they're doing. And I don't know, it's like, when I start to see, I feel like that comes down to knowledge though. If you know that there are funders that you can go to, if you know that there are people you can tap into for employment or whatever it is, they just do it so openly.
And it's also access. Like you have to, like, if it's not accessible to you or that information is not provided to you, how are you supposed to know it exists? Like there's so much information that I found out through that crowdfunding process. I'm like, I would have no idea this didn't exist if I wasn't in this space right now. Like, you can get money that you can, like, what?
You
like
can just ask.
Yeah, there's so many ways you can get funding, and so many people that will just be like, here you go. Obviously, there's things you need to work out, like how much cut are they going to take or this and that. But like for the most part, like there are a lot of people that exist that are like, if you have a great idea, I'll give you the funding, but I need to see it come to life within 12 months or something like that, you know? So just having access to those spaces and being in those rooms where people are like pitching billion-dollar ideas and hearing people talk and how they ask for things, like you can learn so much as well.
That would be such like an insightful experience. How did you ever get nervous about the market in Australia? Like thinking, okay, you know what I mean? It's me and my girls. Like, how are we going to sell this product? But and then I guess like, do you see now like there is opportunity for niche products? Like,
yeah, definitely. I definitely did. I think when you're creating a product and you're investing so much money into it, you're like, obviously the intention is to sell it. Otherwise, like you don't make money, the product expires, then it just sits there. So I was definitely nervous about it. But I think for me, creating a product that was versatile enough to work on like wavy, curly and afro hair textures meant that I was widening the market. It makes it hard, especially when you're launching one product. Like it'll be different if I was launching 4 or 5, because then I can cater to so many different curl types, porosity types. Like you can really get into like the nitty gritty stuff. But when it's one product, definitely, because I'm like, is this going to work on all hair types? And especially because like, I think for me, what I've learned within business is that if you have a product that is great and it works for everybody, like why not make it work for everybody? Yeah. Because especially when it's like your money that you're putting into it, like I think most people will back this, that you just want to see it sell. Like you need to get that money back in order to be able to invest in the next thing, to make the next thing better, to get to the next project. So for me, I'm like, how can I make sure that this product works on as many hair types and as many environments as possible, and in as many styles? So
is that possible?
Well, it depends what it is. It depends what the product is. I think for me, creating the Hydra Curl Styler, because it's a hybrid product, it gives you moisture and it gives you hold. You're able to use it in like very different ways. It's not just for like wash and goes or like, you know, wearing your hair out. Like you can do it for like protective styles. You can use it for sleek bags. You can use it for so many things. So for me, I was like, if I can make the first product as flexible as possible, then I'll be happy. Yeah. You know, so it's hard,
Yeah,
but it's possible.
But it's possible,
But it's
and you're
possible.
doing it. I think you're doing it too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm trying at least.
Girl, you're doing it.
Yeah,
You're
doing
doing
it.
it.
Yeah,
You've done it. Really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not even we're doing it. You went through 3 years.
We've
All right,
done-
in
I
the
know,
lab.
like, we're doing. No, we've done it.
You did it.
Yeah.
You really did that, and I think it's just. Yeah, you need to start like
you gotta own it.
You gotta own it,
I know, right?
You gotta
It's
own
crazy,
it.
and it like I think now I'm at a point now where like the product is out, so I'm able to like reflect on the journey more. And like there's parts of the journey that I've forgotten about. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I remember when that happened, when I had to go back and forth for 3 months, when this didn't work and like this didn't work. So like I think now I'm like owning and like being, I don't know, maybe a bit more like intentionally proud about it, because it's easy to be like, oh yeah, I did it, it's cool. Okay, next thing.
Yes,
Next
that's
thing,
literally me.
next
I think
thing,
that's a lot
you
of
know?
people that are just
Yeah.
like, if you're a founder, if you're building a
Yeah.
platform of any sort, it's like you're so stuck in the day to day, and you're
yeah.
like, I need to get it done. I need to be better. I need to be better. I need to be better. And you're not. It's only when you reflect that you start to think. Or even sometimes for me, it's when people are like, oh, like. Wow, you like so who's doing it with you? I'm like,
you're
just
like,
me. I'm like, we every day, we.
Oh, we are doing this.
We.
Yeah,
You know,
oh
you
my
never add bittersweet admin.
Nah,
This
yeah,
like
it
you don't
doesn't
know.
matter.
But then you realize, okay, actually like it's not a normal thing to be
Yeah.
doing something like this at such a high level.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
like for yourself, it's not normal. It's not. Let me not say normal,
No,
but it's
but I
not
feel you.
common.
Yeah,
Like
it's not
people are
common.
not out here just like creating products like
Yeah.
that and really going through like just like the hardship of doing something. So
Yeah.
it's always good to like recognize, you know, how far
100%.
you've come.
Yeah.
I saw this TikTok, and it was like to be an entrepreneurship is a spiritual experience. And I was like, let me hear what she has to say. And she was talking about how like the process of being an entrepreneur, like the things that you learn in the process, the amount of resilience you need to have, how you have to be, like the self-confidence you need to have, constantly backing yourself, going through motions of like self-doubt. Okay, no, I've got this. The just constantly being in a space of like, I need to keep going. Is a lot of labor, like emotional labor, mental labor, but it's very spiritual. It's a very, very spiritual practice because it's just something that like you have to just, it's one of those things where you keep going and you have to keep pushing past like all these barriers. And I feel like a lot of people, it can also be a very like lonely process as well. You're with yourself, solitude, all of that stuff. And it's hard, but then you go through moments where you're like, okay, it feels very like comforting that you were able to push yourself through that.
Definitely.
Do you resonate with that?
100%.
Yeah.
Like I definitely, it can. I think sometimes it's like entrepreneurship can be glamorized, like especially like on social media. You're like, oh, it's this like very cool thing where you work for yourself, like you've got your office, like you can go work remotely. But I'm like, oh, like it's different.
I'm like, I need help.
Yeah, I need help, and it's like it is like I think. Like one of the things I struggle with is like moving too quick onto the next project.
Yeah.
And I've identified like, okay, why are we moving so fast? Like, what are the goals? Like, what is your long-term goal? What are you trying to achieve? Like, there's so many things that you're like thinking about, like your brain is moving so fast. But yeah, that resilience piece, like it takes a lot. And I think that loneliness as well, like it can be a lonely journey, especially when you're like locked in, you're like trying to work towards something. And if you're a visionary and you know like where you want to get to, like sometimes it can be isolating. Like you're on this journey where you're just like, I don't know what the next steps are. I just know I need to create something and do something, and I'm just going to do what I can to get there. But like, it's resilient and like it builds like so many like great skills, but it can also be very isolating.
And, like, you're just like, and no one, like, I guess no one can fully understand what you're going through
100%.
because they're not in that.
Yeah,
And so like, you're
yeah.
kind of like, I'm just chilling with my friends today. Really, I'm dying.
Yeah,
I've got so much
honestly.
going on. And I think, like it's one of those processes, but then also it can be so beautiful when you really deep it and you're like, there's just so much passion to what that I'm pouring into something. Like
definitely.
there's so much passion I have towards this thing I love that like stopping is not really what I want to do.
Yeah.
It's just like, obviously I'm having to deal with the barriers and like the challenges of going through it.
One of my friends actually reminds me, like, especially like through that like last 6 months of like getting the product out. And he was like, just remember that no one's asking you to do this. Like, this is all you. And I'm like, oh yeah, like it is on me. So he's like, if you want to stop, you can stop. Like if you don't want to do this and you want to like finish this or don't want to do Embrace, like that's on you. And I'm like, that is so true. So it's also like, as much as like we push ourselves and we're like, okay, this is like, we got to go, we got to keep going. Like remembering that like you've created this.
This is a choice.
This is a choice that you've made to like how much you put into it, it's really up to you.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah.
And it's so important, like when you said sometimes we have to stop moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've got like 3 things running at the same time. And why?
Yeah.
Why did you choose to pick up this project and then that one and then that one? And I don't know if it's like, I feel like sometimes my brain gets stuck in a habit of doing things. And so without thinking, I'm just like, I can handle this. I can do this. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Girl, just because you can, it doesn't mean you should. And I think like, I think that's one thing that I've realized now. It's like, let's actually be intentional about what we want to do and just like scale back a little bit. Because it's better for now. I'm very much, I think at the start you're like growth. Let me just do everything I can. Let me do it the best way I can and continue to execute. But now I'm like, it's very much quality.
Yeah.
I would rather do like a couple projects a year that are huge,
really great,
and great. And collaborate with people that I love and be able to be like, I really felt like the intention behind that project.
100%.
And then to just be like running on like nothing, zero fuel. Like you can't even be grateful for the people you've worked with because your brain is not, you're just at full capacity.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
and being intentional too, like being intentional with like what projects you're creating, how you're creating them, how you're going about it. Cause I think there's like something really beautiful in like being like intentional, but like creating like quality work that actually resonates.
That
like,
resonates,
especially in such a like short form consumer centric mindset where you're like, okay, I got this thing, everything is so easy, accessible. Like to create like beautiful quality work that like actually has it, like you have a goal and like there's meaning behind it, like also resonates just as much. Like it's like equally as beautiful.
I fully agree with that. I think so. I think that's like the way forward.
Yeah.
That actually
long form content is coming back.
It is
long
though,
form,
right?
People like
people
I think
watching
people
movies on TikTok.
Yeah. Oh really?
My little cousin told me about that. I'm like, you're lying. She pulled out a whole movie.
Really?
This is so
That's
weird.
Crazy.
Yeah, but I like it.
I think people are acknowledging that, like, our brains are rotting. Like everything is like it's 2 second, 3 second. That's why like TikTok clips, all of that stuff, like everything, it has to be like intentional. Quick. But I think long form content, we're gonna see more of it.
I hope so. I really appreciate long form or just anything with quality, to be honest, anything that's quality. This is a question that like a personal one that I have. When people think of Embrace Your Frizzique or see the brand, like what do you want them to feel and like how do you want them to perceive the brand?
I love that question. That's a really nice question. I think for me, I want people to feel seen. I think that's the first thing. Like I think Embrace Your Frizzique's always been about creating a space where people can feel seen, they feel safe, they feel like, oh wow, like there's actually information, there's products, there's like stuff here that I can actually use that works. So I feel like seen. But I think also like, I think the hairdressing like industry and like the beauty industry, like it's quite easy to forget that there's like, we're all individuals and we all have different styles and flares and things that we like. So I want people to also feel like they can also show up as themselves. They can show up as themselves. They can be creative. Like you don't have to wear your hair this way or this way. Like you can cut it, you can chop it, you can color it. Obviously there's safe ways to do all of that stuff. But I want people to feel like they can like creatively express themselves and they can be who they are. Because I think there's like, I think growing up for me, it was like, there's a way that Black women or like people of color have to be or look or be perceived. But I'm like, actually, there's so many ways that we show up and that we show out. And like, why not channel that into like channel that more? So I think for me to feel seen, like want people to feel seen and also feel like they can be themselves as they are. Come as you are.
I love that. I think, and I feel like you're doing such a great job. So just know that. Like I do, I see the brand and I'm like, you're like, you've created a space where people obviously can feel like represented. Yeah. And then I just think you're also very responsible in a way. And I mean that like not in like a like lame way. Responsible in a way where I'm like, you actually consider like what like how this is going to be perceived and how you want people to feel in the space. Do you know what I mean? Really it's like there's layers to this. It's like cute. Intentional.
I love that.
So I
and
really
like, that's actually so nice to hear, you know, because I feel like I just operate like that. Like my brain is very much like,
I noticed that. It's like, how is this going to be sustainable or this is going to be,
Because I also think like, I mean, I love like through the campaigns that we do, like obviously love that stuff, like getting like a team together, being able to like create something, like color grade it, make it look good. Like how do people feel, respond? Like, I think that's such a beautiful process. But for me, I think just like in my day to day, I'm always like like as much as like I focus on like the process, which I could probably be more like intentional in the process, but for me it's always like, what's that end result going to be? Like even with the product, like what is it going to look like, feel like, smell like everyone, like even that process when I was like telling the manufacturers like I needed to look like this, I needed to be in a bottle like this, they're like, whoa, like you've got the end result. I'm like, yeah, but I need it to be like this. So, like, can we just work towards getting it like that? But I think there's also something really cool and like intentional and like beautiful about knowing like, or having a framing or some type of an idea of like, I know what I want it to be at the end of it. So like make sure that the steps that I take can get me there. Because otherwise you go this way, you go this way.
I know, you know, have like, at least you've got like a focus at the end of the day. Yeah. And you're so rooted in community. Like you've been in it. I think people also here know like the core, like the roots of Embrace Your Frizzique and the core of it. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Thank you. I'm excited too.
I also want to talk a little bit about the launch that's coming up next week.
Yeah, next Saturday.
Crazy.
Yeah,
talk to us.
Yeah.
When is it? What are we expecting?
Okay. It's happening on Saturday, March the 15th, 2025. So yeah, it's pretty much to celebrate the launch of the Hydra styler and to bring communities together. It's our first in real life event, I think, since 2018. So it's been a while. Yeah. So it's going to be fun. We're going to have like a pop-up salon. There's going to be giveaways. We've got canapes. We've got like a little drink situation happening. There'll be a media wall, like a bunch of stuff. So it's going to be really fun. Lots of activation stuff. Just a nice way to get everyone together. And the venue is beautiful. It's in Bentwood, Fitzroy.
Okay,
so it's like a cafe takeover. So yeah, you should all come.
Guys, come. We're going to put the details. I'm excited. I'm like really excited for this event. It's going to be a good event. I can already feel
Dress
it.
to Express.
Okay.
Best hairstyle. Cute outfit.
Okay.
Just show out.
So anything, it's like there's no theme.
No theme.
Just come looking.
We love red.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We love red. So if you got anything red, wear red. But otherwise, just to express. Be yourself. Show up as yourself. Hair. I think there's, I want people to come with like cool hairstyles.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah, like show up. Show up with cool hairstyles.
I've never heard dress to express.
Oh, really?
I've heard dress to impress.
Nah, dress to express.
I like this because you're expressing yourself.
Yeah,
okay, we love to. I love it. All right, guys, next Saturday, make sure you're there.
Come through.
Before we wrap up this episode, I do want to ask you one last question.
Okay.
If you like knowing what you know now and how far you've come in the journey and everything, what would be one thing you tell your younger self?
Oh, that's how my younger self?
Yeah.
Trust yourself.
Okay, I love that piece of advice because honestly,
trust yourself. I feel like just as women, we have such strong intuition. We have like, you get that gut feeling that sometimes I'm like, nah. And then you look back, you're like, damn, I was right. Trust yourself. And I think like, as a young person, like there was you obviously have so many like lived experiences, you go through so many things, like you are very smart, very intelligent, and it can be easy to listen to other people, it can be easy to listen to the noise. But I think, there were so many ideas and a lot of things that I did execute, but a lot of things that I held back on, like even just like personal wise, that I just didn't trust myself. So I would be like, trust yourself, and also just like trust like God's plan, trust the vision, like everything is going to work out on your time. Like I think back now, like through the product development journey, I was like, oh man, like I should have done this like 5-7 years ago. But I think as well, like 5-7 years ago, I did not have like any of the knowledge that I do now, like the connections, like the information, like even just the brain capacity to be like responsibly, like to be able to responsibly handle a task or something that you're given. So like everything will like happen when it does. Obviously it doesn't mean you don't put in the work, because you have to put in the work. You have to like know what you're working towards, but trust yourself and trust things will work out.
I love that piece of advice because it's something, it brings me back to the whole entrepreneurship is spiritual. And I think like you feel so like I have to control every outcome in the process. It needs to be like this, it needs to be like that. But really, even trusting in God's plan and God's timing, it will work out as long as you're putting the work in. I just don't think that you can put in hours and like so much labor and so much love into something and it just doesn't turn out. It just 100%. Might not look what you thought it was going to look like, but it ends up happening. So I really, really love that piece of advice. Yeah. And how about for young entrepreneurs, like young women that are seeing what you're doing and they're like, oh my God, she's so cool. I'm trying to be like that.
For like in the industry?
In the industry, I guess we can even talk about that, I think generally. Like there's a lot of probably young women that want to step into entrepreneurship, whether it be for hair or even like in the beauty space. And then they just don't know, I guess like they don't know what to do or where to start. What would you tell them?
I think if I to answer specifically for like, say like hair or beauty or like just like, I mean like this can be broad too, but I think it's really important when you're like jumping into a project or you have an idea, like you really need to know the industry, like know the market, know the industry, like whether your goal is to create the next best lip gloss, the next best hair product, the next best gel, like whatever it is, like know the industry that you're catering for. Because I think it's one thing to be like passionate or be on TikTok or be on Instagram and be like, oh, this is fun, this is cool, like I want to do that. But like there's going to be a level of separation between someone that has a passion or an interest versus someone that knows the industry back to front. And I think it's also like, even with me, like being a stylist, being in industry, having my friends, like just being in every aspect of like wherever the product will cover. Also having like knowledge in industries that may be of interest to your consumer. Like if you're like, whether that's health, wellness or tech or wherever, like just knowing the core industry and then things that like are around it as well will help with like driving decisions, like gathering data, like just making you just to be that person that has like the insights and knowledge, because there's always going to be someone else out there that's going to have more information than you. So just doing your best to like stay at the front of it, like staying on trends, staying on top of topics, like joining conversations, going out to seminars, lectures, like wherever you can get to, just like be in the know,
be involved,
because
in
it's
all
like
of it.
especially in like hair and beauty industry, it's so rapidly changing. There's so much innovation behind it, and it's so easy to just be like to fall back or be focused on like your own project, but you have to know like what your competitors are doing. So just stay in the know, be confident, like enter rooms with your head up, because like you're there for a reason. And like if you're confident, like so many things will gravitate towards you as well. So.
I also think if you're so in the know about things, you will be confident. It builds up your own confidence.
To be able to like talk about things. 100%. And people also love that. Like people will follow you. Like that's a very like natural like leadership like skill to have. Like if you talk with confidence about like whatever you're doing, people will trust you. Like some of the best thought leaders that I follow are so confident and well spoken when they speak about like hair, beauty, tech, wellness, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll follow them. Like I trust them.
They know what they're talking about.
They know what they're talking about.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right, well, to wrap up this whole episode, we're going to do a quick little bitter or sweet.
Oh, cute.
Okay, these are what the paddles are for.
I love it.
So basically the way this game works is I'm going to give you a scenario and you're going to vote bitter, meaning you disagree, and sweet, meaning you agree. Okay. First one is the I'm just the girl / damsel in distress trope. Bitter or sweet?
Are you going to do it too?
I'm going to do it after you.
Are you going to do it after me?
I've reflected on these questions. There's no judgment here. Absolutely. We're working women, yeah? Like, it's not everyday work. I'm tired.
No.
Actually, I don't know what's going on. Hello, please.
What? Help me.
Help me.
Help me. Give me the resource. Help me.
Babe, the way I'm
Sweets.
just like,
I'm just a girl.
I'm just a girl. I don't know.
But to be honest, sometimes it's like overdone.
It is.
Like,
it's overdone with things, but also if I'm around men these days, like I don't. My brain is going to be off.
Yeah.
Yep. And if it's not, if it's off and you're actually just dumb, then I have to. I can't stand next to you.
Yeah. Now then that's bitter.
Then that's bitter. Now I have to.
Now I have to do all
for my own safety. I can't be associated.
Exactly. Nope.
But definitely, I'm here for that. I'm here for just being like.
Especially like I think for like women
relax.
like us, we're hustling, we're working, we're doing so much all the time. So sometimes I'm like, it's been nice to be like, actually, let me just like pull back.
Yeah, it does come from like my day to day is really stressful. I want to be in the presence of someone that will make me feel calm.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna act like I don't know what's going on. Yeah,
just let me be.
Yeah,
please.
but sometimes my patience gets in the way because you start doing shit. I'm like, you're
doing it wrong.
Why did you? Yeah,
what are you doing that for? Yeah, that's when I need to
going
like,
on?
Chill.
Okay, next one is bitter or sweet? Switching your hairstylist or brow lady last minute. Last minute. Yeah, bitter. But what happens if you're like, okay, I have to go to this event now. Like my brow lady's closed. There's one down the street.
Bitter.
Concealer.
I think for
like add the concealer. Shape your brow with whatever you can do.
Look, I think in like context, like if that's like something like it's like I don't know, like eyebrows, stuff like that. But I'm like, for me, like coming from like a stylist background, like bookings can be really difficult. And like you book people so far in advance and like managing your books and stuff like that, especially if you're a small business, like it can really have a detrimental effect. So I'm saying bitter.
But what about from
the
customer side? If you were the customer and not switching, like it's like I have a last minute thing. Would you rather just deal with your hair or deal with your eyebrows at home and just go to them when you can, or are you like switching last minute and just, all right, I'm just gonna go to someone for now because it's urgent?
Oh, no.
Do you know what I mean?
Not really.
Oh, okay. I think we were answering two different questions.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
You have an event, okay?
Not really.
You're like, your hairstylist
Yeah.
is your go-to. You have one go-to stylist.
Okay.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
And your event, she's busy.
Yeah.
Your event is happening
Have you
tonight.
booked with her though?
You haven't booked with her.
Oh, okay, you haven't. Okay.
You didn't book with her.
Yeah.
You made a mistake. You obviously just like missed the deadline,
yeah.
whatever. And now you're like, I just need to get my hair done tonight.
Yeah.
Are you going to another stylist and risking them like ruining your hair? Or are you going to just like manage your hair for the day and go to them when you can?
Yeah, I would risk my hair for the day.
You'd risk your hair for the day.
Yeah, I would do my own hair. I would just manage it myself.
Yeah.
I think if I but I've got trust issues. I'm like, if I haven't worked with you in terms of like, or if I've got a style that I'm trying to achieve, especially if it's like a important event, I'll probably do it myself.
I get that.
Because like, if you have a vision,
We don't know.
you go somewhere else. First time you're with them, they do something completely. Nah. You could have saved your bag. You could have saved your money. Done something at home.
I'm with that. I'm like that with my brow lady. Like that. There's one I go to. I just have to go there.
Yeah.
Because if I go somewhere else and you mess it up, I'm pissed off now.
Yeah. Now I just look stupid.
Yeah.
And
you've also like I paid for this.
Yeah. Could have just waited.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Zarah. That's
okay.
it. That was it. There is it.
Okay.
Do you want one more?
Yeah.
Let me scroll through. Okay, everyone always says that. They're like, we need another one. That's it.
I know, okay. Otherwise, it's going to go too long.
Thank you so much for jumping on.
Yay.
I will let people know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram and like all social media, Embrace Your Frizzique.
Yep.
That's it.
And Zarah.
I'm Zarah G on Instagram.
Yeah, what do you mean? Talk about yourself.
Yeah,
We're going to
Zarah
put it all in
G.
the links, guys.
Everything's in the description box.
Everything in the description. This was so much fun.
This was fun.
I'm
Thank
glad
you for
we got to
having
do
me.
it.
I
Of
appreciate
course.
it. This has been fun. I love it. Yes to Bittersweet.
Yes to Bittersweet. I love that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you at the event next week. And I'll see you on the podcast again next week. Peace.